Hello, everyone. Today I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Merlin Tuttle. Dr. Tuttle is the closest thing to a real-life Batman. Not in the sense that he's a hero that fights crime, but in the sense that he's a hero that protects something that's very important. Bats. He's an ecologist and conservationist who specializes in bats, and he first became fond of bats when he was just a boy. He was hiking through a cave with his parents when he had the opportunity to encounter a flock of bats leaving their cave. And it was during this time that he realized that bats are harmless mostly, and he became rather fond of them. I'm McKinley Collins. I'm a junior. I was born in Clinton, Maryland, and my major is wildlife ecology and conservation. I'm also an older brother, and I I'm rather fond of reptiles and amphibians. You can see in this picture I've got a snake here, and this is an axolotl, a type of salamander. So Dr. Tuttle is a great leader, but we should define what a leader is before we quantify what makes Dr. Tuttle such a great leader. So Webster defines leading as guiding or directing. So naturally, a leader is someone who guides or directs others. And Dr. Tuttle does a great job of both guiding and directing others. In 1982, Dr. Tuttle founded Bat Conservation International, and this organization has done a great service. They've conserved hundreds of bat species, and they've funded bat research and bat conservation efforts around the world. At the time of its founding, Bat Conservation International was pretty much the only conservation organization that was protecting bats, as bats were incredibly unpopular at the time. In a popularity poll, bats were ranked in between rattlesnakes and cockroaches, and cockroaches are still hated today. So if you're only a rank above cockroaches, you're clearly seen pretty poorly. In 1986, Dr. Tuttle gave up his job as curator of mammals at Milwaukee Public Museum to lead Bat Conservation International full-time. He relocated to Austin, Texas. And Austin is home to the Congress Avenue Bridge, which you can see here, which is in turn home to over 1 million bats, which you can also see in this picture. A great deal of people come to Congress Avenue Bridge to watch the bats flock, which has made it quite the tourist destination. And Dr. Tuttle is in large part responsible for this. At the time that he moved to Austin, bats were considered rabid and dangerous, but over a 5-year period, Dr. Tuttle managed to turn public opinion around. He showed people that bats weren't dangerous, and not many of them actually carried rabies. And thanks to that, the bats at the bridge have been protected, and people still go to Austin today in order to watch the bats. In addition to saving or helping save the bats of Austin, Texas, Dr. Tuttle has helped teach people in Thailand of the importance of bats. These monks you see here are Buddhist monks from Thailand, and they make some of their income by selling guano, which is bat poop. This guano is incredibly important to the local economy, and it was beginning to dry up. And Dr. Tuttle was contacted in order to try and fix this problem. Dr. Tuttle went around looking for the cause of bat disappearances, and he found these bat nets all over the place with fruit bats in them, and also the bats that produce guano, which are another species. And so he met with the poachers who were setting up these nets, and he told them how hunting bats was impacting the economy and how it was dealing a great deal of harm because these nets weren't just catching the microbats that produce guano, they're also catching these fruit bats here, which are responsible for pollinating a few of Thailand's greatest crops. And so by hunting both fruit bats and microbats, these poachers were hurting the economy, pitting guano and agriculture together. And they were also raising insect populations as the microbats that produce guano also hunt insects and keep pest populations down. And so Dr. Tuttle explained to these poachers that they had to stop, and with the help of the monks, they were able to hire a game warden who helped stop the poachers from catching bats. So he did a great job of leading these people to a lifestyle that doesn't involve hurting, something that greatly aids them. Dr. Tuttle has been a great inspiration to others. In 2009, under Merlin's leadership, Bat Conservation International had given millions of people a first-time appreciation of bats. They held lectures like this and other public outreach events to teach people that bats are very beneficial to society. Bat Conservation International has funded hundreds of bat research and conservation projects. So thanks to Dr. Tuttle, they've been able to inspire many, many people to research and conserve bats independently. And thanks to him inspiring these people, the organization was able to fund these independent bat research and conservation projects. So through his example, a great number of bats have been saved by others as well. His inspiration has also provided long-term protection for thousands of bat habitats, including a national park in American Samoa and key bat caves in North America. Dr. Tuttle has greatly inspired me as well. As a wildlife conservation major, one of my long-term goals is the conservation of the most threatened class of animals, amphibians. Here you see a hellbender down here. It's an endangered salamander found here in Maryland. And just as Dr. Tuttle has helped conserve bats, I want to help conserve amphibians like the hellbenders, which are in great need. Dr. Tuttle's conservation of bats has shown me that it's possible to raise support for less popular animals. Dr. Tuttle's philosophy of winning friends, not battles, has also inspired me. And going forward, I would like to practice this philosophy as well. An example of this philosophy being put to work was when Dr. Tuttle went to American Samoa. These people here well, not all of them, but some of them were hunters who made a living hunting bats and selling them as food. And Dr. Tuttle was able to convince them to set some land aside to form a national park to conserve bat species. So here are my references. My greatest source was the Bat Conservation International website. It's also just called merlintuttle.org. For further information, you can go to that same site. And here are some books written by Dr. Tuttle or illustrated by him. You've got Bats, an illustrated guide to all species, America's Neighborhood Bats, and The Secret Lives of Bats. So, thank you very much. If you have any questions, you can contact me at yelnickham@udel.edu. Thanks again. Goodbye.